Can you believe the person you trusted most, the one who shared your bed, your meals, your entire life, was secretly planning a future without you? Picture the betrayal not whispered in shadows, but casually dropped into a conversation as if it meant nothing. That's how it began for me. One evening in October, while my wife hummed a tune and loaded the dishwasher, she mentioned a man's name one too many times. And in that moment I realized Melissa Callahan wasn't just playing with paintbrushes in her art class. She was playing with fire. Before we go further, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, because what you're about to hear is a story of strategy, betrayal, and revenge that you do not want to miss. My name is Richard Callahan. I'm 58 years old, and for over 2 decades I've worked as Director of Procurement at a major manufacturing corporation. That job taught me how to read between the lines, how to spot hidden costs, and how to know when someone was lying straight to my face. Unfortunately, I applied those skills far better to corporate negotiations than to my own marriage. Melissa had been mentioning a certain man more frequently. Adrian from art class, the retreat he organized, the inspiration he gave her. I'd heard the name enough times to know it wasn't just about art. When she told me about a weekend retreat in Napa Valley, she didn't even look me in the eye. That told me everything I needed to know. "Since when do you go on retreats with your art instructor?" I asked her. She finally looked at me, defiance mixing with guilt in her eyes. "Rick, you're being paranoid." "It's just a group retreat. Wine, art, relaxation. Nothing scandalous." But it was the way she said scandalous too quickly, too sharply, that told me she'd already thought about exactly that. That night, as she scrolled on her phone beside me in bed, I made a decision my father, a military man, would have been proud of. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to prepare for war. The next morning, Melissa left early for what she called her yoga class. I'd stopped believing it was only yoga weeks ago. While she was gone, I powered up my laptop and opened our shared cloud storage. Melissa wasn't exactly tech-savvy. She never realized her phone was automatically backing up photos, messages, even location data. What I found was damning. There she was, sitting too close to Adrian Cross at coffee shops, galleries, restaurants, her hand resting lightly on his arm, her eyes fixed on his face instead of the camera. Harmless pictures to anyone else, but to me, they were a timeline of betrayal. The metadata confirmed my suspicion. These weren't random encounters. They were meeting regularly, twice, sometimes 3 times a week. Always during hours, she told me she was busy elsewhere. Then I opened a folder titled Art Projects. What I saw had nothing to do with art. Pictures of Adrian's apartment, his car, even selfies Melissa had snapped of them on his couch, her head against his shoulder. They looked intimate, comfortable, like 2 people living a secret life right under my nose. The sound of her key in the lock snapped me back. I closed the laptop just in time as Melissa walked in, yoga mat under her arm, her face flushed with an energy I hadn't seen in months. "How was class?" I asked casually. She avoided my eyes. "Challenging poses today. I'm getting better at the difficult positions." "Sure you are," I said under my breath. Then louder, "I've been thinking about your Napa trip. Maybe I should meet this Adrian guy." Shake his hand. "Thank the man teaching my wife so much about art." Melissa froze. For a split second, her smile slipped. Then she forced it back. "Rick, that's sweet, but Adrian doesn't really do the husband meeting thing. It might disrupt the group dynamic." I didn't argue. Instead, I made a decision. If she was going to play games, then I'd need professional help. That night, I called Marcus Reed, a private investigator I'd once worked with on a corporate security matter. "Rick Callahan," I said when he picked up. "I need your services again." But this time, it's personal. Marcus Reed worked fast. By Thursday morning, he'd delivered a neatly sealed envelope to my office like it was any other corporate report. Inside were photographs, sharp, damning images of Melissa and Adrian entering his apartment together. Melissa leaving 3 hours later, hair messy, clothes wrinkled, trying to look casual. Adrian kissing her goodbye in a parking garage where they thought no one was watching. But that wasn't the part that shook me most. Marcus had gone deeper. He'd run a background check on Adrian Cross, and what surfaced made my blood boil. Adrian wasn't just some artsy instructor looking for inspiration. He was a conman, a predator, a man with a history of targeting wealthy married women, 3 different women in 3 different states, all wives of successful businessmen. Each affair ending the same way, broken marriages and financial wreckage. Adrian's pattern was flawless, and Melissa had become his next project. That evening, I poured myself a drink and stared out the window, weighing my options. This wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. My wife had fallen for a scam so obvious, I would have spotted it in a heartbeat at work. That's when I thought of someone I hadn't called in years. My twin brother Michael. Michael and I shared the same face, the same voice, the same build. But where I had built a career in corporate procurement, Michael had become a ruthless restructuring specialist, a man who knew how to infiltrate organizations, dismantle them and walk away stronger. He owed me a favor. And now I was going to collect. When he picked up, his tone was cool. "Rick, this is unexpected. I need a favor," I told him. "Melissa is involved with a professional conman. I want him exposed, destroyed, but I can't do it alone." Michael was silent for a moment. Then he chuckled softly. "Corporate espionage tactics applied to domestic war. I like it. Tell me everything." Within 48 hours, Michael was in town. He slipped into Adrian's world like he'd been rehearsing for years. Where I was steady and calculated, my brother radiated charm and boldness. He posed as a wealthy investor, someone intrigued by Adrian's so-called art program and interested in funding future projects. Adrian took the bait instantly. Men like him couldn't resist the scent of easy money. While Michael embedded himself deeper into Adrian's circle, I kept my role simple: play the dutiful, oblivious husband. Melissa had no idea her fantasy life was unraveling around her. When she mentioned Napa again, I even offered to cover her spa treatments. "That's so thoughtful, Rick," she said, practically glowing. "Adrian will be impressed," I forced a smile. "I'm sure he will." Meanwhile, Michael fed me updates over late-night calls. "He's already bragging, Rick, talking about his track record with married women. He's convinced you're blind to what's happening. Is he slipping up?" I asked. Michael's laugh was cold. "I'm recording everything. Video, audio, the works. Your wife's boyfriend is about to confess his entire operation to someone he thinks is his next business partner." I tightened my grip on the phone. "Good, I want him exposed. And I want Melissa to see it with her own eyes." While Michael worked his side of the board, I started tightening mine. I moved assets, activated trusts, and ensured Chloe, my daughter, was secured as the primary beneficiary of everything I'd built. Melissa would soon discover she was playing poker with no chips left on the table. It was chess, not checkers, and the trap was nearly complete. That weekend, Chloe drove down from San Francisco. She thought she was coming for her birthday dinner, but I had a different agenda. After dessert, I handed her a folder filled with Marcus's photos and Michael's preliminary intelligence reports. Chloe flipped through the evidence with calm precision, her eyes narrowing but never wavering. She had my analytical mind, but her mother's artistic fire flickered in the way her jaw tightened. Finally, she set the folder down. "Mom's having an affair," she said. It wasn't a question. "With a man who's done this before," I replied. "Melissa isn't his first target, and she won't be his last unless we stop him." Chloe looked at me steadily. "What do you need me to do?" "You're now the legal beneficiary of the trust. The house, 60% of our investments, it all transfers to you. Your mother gets what she brought into the marriage, and whatever the court decides after her adultery becomes public record." Chloe's lips curved into the faintest, coldest smile. "So we're cutting her out completely?" "She made her choice," I said. "Now she faces the consequences." Later that night, I told her the rest of the plan. How Michael was luring Adrian deeper into the trap. how Marcus was documenting every move, how, in less than a week, Melissa's fairy tale trip to Napa would become the stage for her public downfall. Chloe didn't flinch. She simply nodded. "When the time comes, I'll stand with you." For the first time since this started, I felt a spark of certainty. I wasn't fighting alone anymore. I had my daughter on my side. And together, we were going to dismantle everything Melissa thought she had gained. Michael's infiltration exceeded even my expectations. Within 3 days, Adrian was boasting about his success rate with wealthy wives, explaining how easily he drained them financially before disappearing to his next mark. All of it captured on hidden cameras, but Michael wasn't satisfied with just evidence. He wanted a spectacle. "Rick," he told me over dinner, "we need a finale. Something that crushes Melissa's fantasy in real time. Adrian will expose himself and she'll watch it happen." Meanwhile, I prepared my own move. The Bentley, a sleek machine Melissa once flaunted on social media but never bothered to drive, was the perfect symbol. Marcus positioned it in Melissa's reserved parking spot at our condo complex. Not blocking, but occupying. Standing beside it, dressed sharp and confident, Marcus looked every bit the successful man Melissa had thrown away. At 4:45 p.m. that Thursday, she drove in. Marcus sent me a photo. Her Honda paused in front of the Bentley, Melissa staring at the scene with wide, confused eyes. She lingered there for 5 minutes, clearly trying to piece together what she was seeing. My phone buzzed 30 seconds later. "Rick!" Melissa's voice cracked with anger. "Well, Bentley is here. Some man is standing beside it." "Who is he?" I leaned back in my office chair. "My car's at work, where it always is." "Maybe you should ask him." "Don't play games with me," she snapped. "I'm in a meeting, Melissa." "We'll talk when I get home." I hung up before she could respond. At the same moment, Michael called from across town. His voice was calm, steady. "It's done." Adrian confessed everything. Multiple affairs, financial scams. He even bragged about Melissa. She wasn't his prize, she was just another paycheck. I poured myself a scotch, the faint burn grounding me. The pieces were in motion. Melissa thought she was preparing for a romantic weekend in Napa. She had no idea she was walking into the end of her marriage and the collapse of her illusions. Friday morning, Melissa packed her bags with the excitement of a woman chasing a dream. She kissed me on the cheek, promised to call when she reached Napa, and drove away at 9:15 a.m. She didn't know the retreat didn't exist. She didn't know Adrian was already sitting in a downtown restaurant, spilling his entire scam to my twin brother on camera. By noon, Michael had captured everything, Adrian bragging about his con, detailing how he planned to drain Melissa's accounts, even mocking her as financially promising but emotionally needy. The words hit harder than any photograph. At 4 p.m., my phone rang. Melissa, her voice shook. "Rick, something's wrong. The hotel says there's no retreat. No reservations. I can't reach Adrian. His phone's off." What if something happened to him? I kept my tone calm. "Maybe check with the art studio." Her silence on the line was deafening. She had already called them. Adrian Cross didn't exist in their records. Never had. By Saturday morning, she was driving back home, hours of highway giving her nothing but time to realize how thoroughly she'd been played. Adrian hadn't just stolen her fantasy, he'd erased it. When she pulled into the condo complex, a moving truck was already parked outside. Marcus supervised as men loaded every piece of my life, wine collection, heirloom desk, even my tools, into boxes labeled with my name. Melissa's voice cracked. "What's going on?" Marcus didn't even blink. "Asset relocation, Mum. Mr. Callahan's orders," she called me, panicked. "Rick, they're taking everything. Where are you going?" "I've decided to move on," I told her coldly. "After your weekend revelation, it seemed like the right time." Sunday evening, we sat at the kitchen table. In front of Melissa lay divorce papers, recordings of Adrian's confession, surveillance photos, and legal documents transferring everything of value out of her reach. She whispered, "We can fix this." Counseling, trust building. I pressed play. Adrian's voice filled the kitchen, describing her as just another paycheck. Her face crumpled, tears streaking down as reality shattered. "This gives me nothing," she sobbed, clutching the divorce papers. "It gives you what you brought into the marriage," I replied. "Nothing more." Chloe entered then, carrying her own documents. "Mom, you need to sign these. The house is in my name now." "You have 30 days to move out." Melissa looked from me to Chloe, desperate. "Sweetheart, don't let him manipulate you." Chloe's voice was flat, merciless. "You threw away our family for a con man." "Actions have consequences," Melissa signed. She had no choice. By Tuesday, she was gone. Adrian was arrested weeks later, thanks to Michael's recordings. His empire of lies collapsed under federal charges. As for me, I built a new life, one secured by loyalty, competence, and strategy. Melissa lost everything chasing fantasy. I gained everything by cutting her loose. Sometimes the most devastating revenge is simply letting someone live with what they chose. Checkmate.